Hi, Sherry Barney here. Today I am with Altered by Mom. That is Gina Kennedy and Devon Lougheed. Thanks
Hello.
for coming on this video.
Yeah,
Thanks for having us.
it's nice to
So,
be here.
yes, everything's Zoom nowadays, so I like usually being with people, but this is fine. It's not the same, but. So how are you guys doing? You want to tell us a little bit about your band and how you came to be and what you're up to?
Sure thing. So we're Altered by Mom. We're a duo who plays with other musicians, a couple of songwriter, multi-instrumentalists who like not necessarily taking things too seriously, really like classic songwriting and like doing what we want. So that's kind of that.
Yeah.
And what kind of sound would you say you have?
Ooh, good question.
We're like definitely alternative.
Mhm.
We have a lot of different moments though. Some of our songs are, quite slow and ballady, and then some of our songs are really ripping and rocking, and
Yeah.
some of our songs are super silly and like really wacky. So we're kind of just a mishmash. But if if you're talking about genre, I'd say more of like the indie rock alternative,
Yeah.
little bit of
Okay.
indie pop.
We sometimes describe it as if Sloan had a baby with bare naked ladies and that baby stole your cigarettes.
Well, because when I tell people, I'm like, oh, you should listen. It's real instruments, and they're like, what's the sound? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know how to describe it. It's like
It's true
different.
that in this day and age, real instruments is like a sound. It's a certain
Yeah,
thing.
it's a sound. Yeah, and I like
Yeah.
that sound.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
Devin, I've been
we
following
do
you.
sing a lot. So it's lots of male-female harmonies, and then
Yeah,
sometimes I'll sing lead, Gina will sing lead. It's
Yeah.
yeah, that's awesome. So I've been following you since you were with Showerhead.
yeah, Brantford represent.
Yeah.
So funny.
So how many bands have you had like in between that? That was like when we were teenagers.
Yeah, I guess like so Showerhead was my high school band.
Yeah.
And then I guess after that, like 3 or 4, I've played with lots of other bands, but I think it would have just been Beekeeper,
Yeah.
National Satellites, Altered by Mom.
Yeah.
It's kind of so 4 like main focuses, and then now I play with Sky Wallace band, and Gina also plays with Sky Wallace, which is really
Awesome.
super fun. But yeah, like I would say like 4 or 5. That's gotta be about the same for you, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. I've played in a couple. So,
what was your first band called?
uh, well, we were gonna start a band called No Pantyhose.
Whoa, rebellious.
So that's as in like the pantyhose, but then like kind of just that teenage rebellion like title. We never put out a record or anything. And then I was shortly in a band called Sister Vista.
Wowzers.
It's just another terrible band name.
Yeah.
And then just playing like with other bands, like Chintzy and the Eclipse from Montreal, and I play with the band Little Coyote here in Toronto, and
Okay.
my mom, and then my own thing. And yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. So what's your creative process like?
We're
when you're coming
lucky
together?
we're lucky in that both of us we do write, so we can write individually. Sometimes like I'll bring an idea or Gina will bring an idea and that will be more or less done. Sometimes it's like, here's a thing, it just kind of finished. And sometimes it's like, here's a 25% of a thing and I need your help. Sometimes we'll write from the ground up. And then we've also been recently writing a lot with other folks. Well, friends come by, other musicians, I guess not come by anymore.
Yeah, not right now.
But we're in the middle of a sort of egotistically ambitious project to put out a song a week for all of 2020.
Awesome.
So we've, of course, had to write a whole bunch. So we've been enjoying doing some co-writing with each other, with other people. It's a very fluidly creative process, and there's not a clear start or finish each time. It just sort of happens.
Yeah. All right, sweet. Yeah, because when I talk to people, they all have different things. And I know sometimes like I'm in a little band.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and a few other people, but usually the 3 of us are the main people, and then whoever comes and goes. And we don't often write together. It's sometimes it's like she has stuff. If you're stuck, then I'll come in, or she might write the whole song. I might write the whole song, whatever the thing is. But
especially with a band, it can be. It's like it's never easier to write with more people.
I know,
and it's never faster, even though it can be better.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes you just need like a Trent Reznor or Billy Corgan type to do it. Well, this is what it is. These are the parts. This is just the song. And sometimes it's like, let's jam on this, man.
And we're lucky that we get kind of all kinds of that, because when you're a hired gun in a band, you kind of just get the part and you play it, and that kind of satisfies that need, and then we come together, and sometimes I'll bring a full song, like he said, he'll bring a full song, or like we get to collaborate, so we kind of get to do all of it, which is really cool.
That's awesome. That's good. I'm always curious about other people's things, and I know you guys are married, and so I wondered how that would work.
Yeah, we're married and we're also roommates, which is wild.
Wow. And in multiple
married
together.
Yeah.
We're rarely apart, but it actually works out really well. Like when we first started dating, like date night would be like go and play around in the studio, and sing songs together, and that just kind of, this whole thing just kind of blossomed from that.
Yeah.
And maybe our marriage too, who knows?
Who knows?
All right, so so who would you each both like to collaborate if you could choose anyone, dead or alive? Who's your go-to?
Holy cow.
Whoa. Okay, well, there's this guy named Matt Mahaffey, and he's a band called Self, and they put out a bunch of records, and he's done some stuff. I think he wrote a Pink song, and he had a song on the Shrek soundtrack, which was his most popular song. It's like not his style. It's not indicative. I think he's so incredible. I would love to work with him. But let me say him, and I really like Tara Lightfoot out of Hamilton. I'd like to collab with Tara again. That was pretty fun.
Awesome.
It would be Dolly Parton for me. If I could write with anybody, I would love to write with Dolly Parton. She writes the best songs. She's timeless. She's amazing. Plus, I just want to meet her. Like, she just seems like this beautiful ray of sunshine.
Oh, yeah.
And
Christmas.
What
is it you give? Christmas to Remember. I was like, Christmas in September.
One of my favorite Christmas albums is Kenny and Dolly together, and I play it from November 1st right up until Christmas.
It's October, let's be honest.
He knows all of the songs.
Yeah, I know it now. I love it. It's great.
And then if it was somebody, so I'm from Nova Scotia originally, and there's a great writer named Gordy Sampson. He actually wrote Jesus Take the Wheel, that Carrie Underwood sings. And he's written a bunch of songs for like Keith Urban and all them. And he's just this like little Cape Brettoner dude. I've never had the chance to meet him, but he does do songwriting camps and stuff in Cape Breton. So that would be like a more localized, probably more realistic person that I would love to write with. He's awesome. If you've never heard of him, definitely check him out.
Okay, sweet.
How about you, Carrie? Who would you like to collaborate with?
Ooh.
Who would I like to?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. How can you even answer that? It's an impossible question.
I know.
Well, we just had to.
I like, I don't know. I've never been asked that.
We'll give it.
Dolly Parton is a funny one. I watched a thing. I was at my parents' house like a few months ago, and it was this show on Linda Ronstadt or something.
Yeah,
Ronstadt.
Yeah. And then she did a little thing with Dolly Parton and another woman. So we were watching the interview, and then I always say, like, my sister's a perfectionist. If we're doing music, it's going to be perfect. And I'm more like, it's done, it's good, let's go. So, and then it was funny because Dolly, I was like, I never thought I would relate to her, but she said something about like, oh my gosh, this girl's a perfectionist. She's like, I don't know what I'm doing. I just get in there and sing, and I want to leave. And I'm like, oh man, this girl's hilarious. So, yeah,
that's so awesome. So there you go. See, you have something in common with Dolly.
Yeah. Plus, I love her song Jolene. It's probably actually one of my favorite songs ever. And I love I don't remember who does it, but there's like a ska version of it, and it's so good.
Whoa, really?
Miley Cyrus does that cool version of it too.
Miley Cyrus does an amazing version. Yeah, she's really talented.
Yeah.
So.
Isn't she Dolly's niece? I feel like she's Dolly's niece or something.
She's Billy Ray Cyrus's daughter.
Yeah, I know that. Anyway, I think they're related somehow. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe. All right, so how are you guys using digital to get out there? I'm a social media manager, so I'm all about digital, so I have to bring it into the interview. How are you guys using it to get in front of people's faces?
Yeah, it's an interesting time for that, for artists, because I think there's a flurry of, Facebook Lives and Instagram Lives happening, which it was great to see people doing, and I think people have been watching and enjoying, and we have done one or two of them through, we've tended to do them where there was like a music venue in Toronto that was hosting, live sessions each night and other things like that. We haven't done so much the like coming at you from our living room live thing, although I think the artists who are good at that stuff, who were good at that stuff before this new world, they're crushing it right now.
Yeah.
And I think for some of us that like, I'm kind of like I'm a little old fashioned. I'm like, I'm just gonna put out the music. I'll spread the word. I'll put it on Instagram and stuff, but I don't know how to game the system really. I just like play guitar, man. But Gina's a little more multi-talented in that. You've been like, you've submitted to some playlists and stuff. And
Yeah, like we're actually, it's funny because although we're not necessarily doing a ton of like the live from our living room every week, we are releasing a song every week.
Yeah.
So we're doing that for this year, and it was meant to be on top of our busy lives anyway, but it's actually now we're not so busy.
It's supposed to be really impressive, and now it's
it's just sort of impressive. But we're actually, I can kind of show you. So like on our Instagram here, you can see we're kind of doing like our song a week kind of thing, which I think looks kind of cool. You know what I mean? It's like just a little bit of a thing.
Yeah.
And then we're just trying to get it out on all those platforms. And then, you know, like we collaborate with people too, which I find always, you know, helps spread the word and get songs around, and, you know, sharing with other people's music as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So you've been doing this pre-big internet. How have you seen this big shift with everything going digitally? I know a lot of people, obviously, it's harder to make a go of it.
What I think is kind of interesting is if I look at something like Spotify streaming numbers, and those are super important right now, and it seems like that can kind of make or break your career as an artist, except that a lot of industry folks I've talked to now, like not on the artist side, but on the sort of management or labels, they're less concerned about streaming numbers because like, well, there's no money and those don't translate to live audience necessarily, all of this. So I think the lesson I've learned from just like, you know, like I remember when MySpace had just started and when Reverb Nation could make your band and all of that, like you had to have a big Facebook following. And now like if you have 2 million likes on Facebook, that's great, but they don't, like that's not a requirement anymore. So I think it's what I've learned from like doing this before pre-digital is that things come and go. There could be, I was really good at Twitter when Twitter was like big. I feel like I got lots of interactions. I could really I could share something and we would have conversations. And then some of the newer ones, I don't quite get the ecosystem, so I'm not as successful. And you know, it's just like you can learn to adapt or you can not bother. But each thing is like an opportunity for success, depending on how long it'll be around.
Yeah. All right. And Gina, what are you doing to get out there?
I mean, you know, Instagram is probably our main platform. That and your streaming services, you know, your Spotify, your Tidal, all that kind of stuff. We try to just be like authentically ourselves on Instagram. So, you know, I try not to let it dominate my whole life. Like you say, like I could learn how to do the algorithm all day, or I could get really good at my instrument, and I kind of choose the instrument side, and like do songwriting, and I'd rather play live shows. And like, I think that our thing is that we're a good live band, and I think that that's our wheelhouse. Our show is good, and I think that's what people come to see. But I think it's like anything, like with social media, like just to talk about what you guys were saying, you know, I think that you have a small window of time before everyone catches on to that, and then something else new, right? Like even look at what TikTok's doing to Instagram, right? Like like Instagram's the old thing now, and TikTok is the new one, and you know, and I think that, you know, people right now are going viral on TikTok, but in a month they won't be able to anymore because it will be just hack the system, and it's always changing. I mean, you can't master it, right? Like there's no way. So so I think that we're just really focused on putting good songs out into the world and just kind of like meeting more people and experiencing things in real life. That's kind of our jam, I think.
And a good thing that we learned, like we've always been DIY, keep everything in house. Like since I was an annoying punk in high school, I was like, I gotta do it myself.
As you know.
Until you realize that like if you hire a digital marketer, if you hire a PR person, like you give them some money, but they know people, they do that 40 to 60 hours a week, right? Like they just know and they like it. So like, great, let's do it.
That's how I feel too. Because at first when I started the business, I was like, oh no, I could do websites, I could do this and this. And I'm like, but I don't like doing it. And these people know more than me. So I'm just going to kind of partner with people, because why would I waste my time? I'd rather do what I'm good at instead of like struggle.
Yeah,
exactly.
100%.
But the number game on Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok, whatever, it doesn't mean anything. And this is what I try and tell. And I'm like, people are catching on finally. Because I used to have clients that were like, okay, we want to go viral. I'm like,
Yeah.
you can, but that won't mean people are going to come to your restaurant in Brantford. So
Yeah,
here,
totally.
Exactly.
have like 1 million followers if 20 of them are local. So
Yeah.
but
Yeah. And a
It's
lot of the
amazing.
things that tend to go viral like aren't necessarily like a compliment. You know,
yes,
like if it's like, oh, like if your business goes viral, you better hope it's for a good reason.
very true.
You know, not like a sign that was spelled wrong, or you did something horrible to a group of people, or by
Yeah.
accident, or you did, you know.
That's
Have you
true.
had to do much like cleaning up as a digital marketer, like going in and like taking care of a bad situation?
Yeah, you know what? I'm at a point, and I worked with one person who I didn't enjoy working with, and I was like, why did I do that? So I don't really work with people I don't enjoy. So before I had one person, I looked at their reviews. I'm like, I can't work with you because your reviews are awful. You can never get rid of a bad review. And I'm like, it's too big of an uphill battle, and I can tell it's not worth it. So
Yeah.
I just kind of try and
I
go with
saw
my
a really
gut.
funny collection of like, it was like erroneously left 1-star reviews that would be really funny, except they probably like didn't help out some small businesses, but it would, you know, it would be a review of a salon or something, and then all these great reviews, 5 stars, 5 stars, and then there's somebody who's like, the pickles were poor, like the bun was burned, waitress was slow, 1 star. It's like, well, you definitely didn't leave that on the right place, but now this business has a 1-star review that shows up.
I know. And then they always like balance it. So you always have like a positive and a negative, but it's how people respond to things too, is how, to me, how you can tell if they're kind of how they are in general. So
totally.
If you don't have control over your keyboard, then in real life, I don't want to deal with you.
Exactly.
Big time. Yeah.
But Sky Wallace, that was pretty cool. They're kind of blowing up. How'd you get involved with that band?
That's kind of a fun thing. So I knew Sky from living in Vancouver, but it wasn't until we were both in Toronto that she called me up. Actually, she talked to you first.
Yeah, so Devon and Sky knew each other years ago in Vancouver, like you say. And then I actually had a podcast that I was doing for non-male identifying artists and people in the music industry. So I had her on my podcast, and that's actually how we met. And then Devon and I were living together at the time, and she ran into Devon and was like, "What are you doing here?" And he was like, "I live here.
This is my house."
Yeah. So then,
and then we did a single together. With that single, her and her management team were able to get a Factor grant to do a record. So then we made that record together. Then her band lineup changed, and I managed to worm my way in. And I think she was transitioning from being sort of a folk singer-songwriter to being a real rock star, and needed a rock band. And like Gina and I think we're eager and welcome additions to the band. And we've actually just started working on her new record, which will be coming out on 6 Shooter Records, which is very nice. We'll get hopefully some attention on it.
All right. So have you been traveling a lot, like pre-corona?
Yeah. We just had a wild year last year. We were gone a ton. We played a bunch of festivals in the summertime. Like we played Riverfest and like some great ones here in Toronto. Like we played Young and Dundas Square, and then we did a gigantic 6-week across Canada tour doing.
We were in Germany and Europe.
Oh yeah, and then we did Reeperbahn in Europe before that, and then we did a 6-week across Canada, October to end of November,
which was great, and I'm glad it's done.
Opening for Matt Mays, which was super awesome. It was all theater tours too, so it was like really nice. It was like an amazing tour.
Awesome.
Yeah.
What's your favorite place to go play?
I really like playing at the Vogue Theatre in Vancouver, just because I've had to play there a couple times. It's really nice, although the basement feels very haunted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's same kind of like thing for me. It's Nova Scotia. Like I love, going like to where you grew up and
playing at a big theater.
Yeah, like playing at a big theater. Like that was really cool. Like I had, when we did the East Coast leg, I had a bunch of people, who I haven't seen in years who were like, I didn't know you were in this band. That's so cool.
And in Halifax, we played twice. What was it? The Meryl Streep Theater?
No, it was the Rebecca Cohen.
The Rebecca Cohen. I knew it was a lady. But there we actually did 2 nights in a row. Mm-hmm. And both were sold out. I mean, Matt is from out there, so that was a natural thing. But it was so nice to just like leave our gear and come back the next day at a venue at the end of a tour. We're even moving that stuff every day.
Yeah. Yeah, and we had 3 birthdays on that tour too, out of 5 band members, which is pretty cool. So
great.
we like met Maze and them. They were so sweet. They like helped us celebrate pretty much every night, like every time we had a birthday, and every night anyway. And then you know, every time we come back, oh, there's another birthday. And then the 3rd time they were like, you guys are joking. There can't be another birthday. So yeah, it was
really right. And around the world, I think. So do you like traveling in your own country? Like I think that would be pretty cool because it's your own country, your own like. Kind of, you know, playing for your home people. But what do you prefer? More exotic travel?
Well, yeah, I mean, there's something super fun. Like when we played at Reeperbahn, we played at this club called Club Molotov.
Yeah, Molotov.
And it's like the CBGBs of Hamburg. Like it's like been a famous punk club. Like the Beatles played there in 1900 or whatever. And we put on a show there that was probably like one of my favorite shows we've ever played. Like it was so fun, so awesome, and just the fact that happened in Germany, where like how did these people find us? This is wild.
Yeah, like there was sweat dripping off the ceiling.
Yeah, it just made it a little bit cooler
than
at home in a way. Although like I also love to crash a hometown.
It's definitely easier to tour in your own country because you don't have to worry about visas and you don't have to worry about plugs and you don't have to worry about gear and things like that. Like flying with gear is really, really expensive and really annoying and like very nerve-wracking because you don't know if your gear is going to make it. You don't know if it's going to get broken, and like especially when you go to places that are, you know, maybe not a big city and people can't, you know, you can't really communicate what you need with people sometimes when we don't speak the language, right? So it's like that's a disadvantage, and you know, it's things seem much more stressful, but it's way more fun going overseas.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty good. What about you and your band? Have you done any touring?
No, we just do stuff around here, really. We went to Michigan last year for something.
Awesome. There you go. International touring band.
There you go. Yeah, we had a band, and I loved it. It was called Take Heat. So we had a couple of bands, and then we had our band, which was Take Heat. It was more rocky. So I always say it was 3 Days Grace meets Evanescence.
Nice.
Oh, wow.
Yes, like it was really cool. But then I got pregnant, my sister got pregnant, our violinist got pregnant, and goodbye bands. And I'm like, so you really don't, because like everything just kind of stopped. And then so now we kind of in the last couple of years have been picking it up a little bit more. Not that we just do it for fun. Like it's just fun to jam and
absolutely
so fun. So
that's like the main point.
What's that?
That's like the main point. Like if it's not fun anymore, there's no point in doing it.
Yeah, exactly. It's just a fun hobby that sometimes you make money doing.
Exactly.
Or like right now, sometimes you don't.
Or it's a career that suddenly stops being one.
That makes you have an existential crisis almost every week.
Yes. All right, so that will wrap up almost, and that actually goes into the last question, is how can we help musicians? I know it's a little more difficult nowadays because people can stream. We have all these like free things, so musicians aren't getting the money they used to. How can we help you guys and other bands like you?
Well, the main thing, like right now, probably the biggest thing is to buy people's records. If they have physical copies, buy those, because then the artist directly usually gets the money, as opposed to like streaming services and stuff. Like that's like what, 0.1 of a cent for every stream.
If you're gonna stream, you use Tidal.
Use something else other than Spotify.
Tidal pays 10 times as much. It's still like less than a penny, but whatever.
And then, you know, if you already have that person's record, buy it for your friend, or, you know, try to expose their music. And then you can go online and you can share your favorite artist's stuff. You can, you know, maybe someone will see that song that hasn't seen it. And that's the hardest part, is introducing people to your music, getting people to actually push play. You know, everybody's inundated with lots of stuff, content all the time. It doesn't matter what it is. So that, I think those are big things. And then obviously when we're allowed to get back to normal, showing up at the shows, being a body in the room. And
we know I'm scared too, but it's,
that'll be like, I think that'll be one of the biggest things is getting back out to the shows and getting those numbers back up again for concerts and stuff.
Is that something you're concerned about? I hear some people like they're just like dying to get out. They're like, the first day we're allowed out, we're going out to every restaurant, all these things. And I think other people are scared.
Yeah, I think people will be probably pretty gun shy in the beginning. Like, I think it'll be probably a really rough go, unless they're like festivals or like something people have paid a lot of money for. I think they'll still go. But if it's like a $10 show, you know, for Altered by Mom or something, like that's like, you know, $10-15 show, people are probably for the first little while just going to pass.
Yeah.
Which I think that there will be like an after wave of trying to get back to normal, even when things are back to normal.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see when that might be.
Great time to be an artist, as always.
Everyone's taking a hit right now. It's shocking, but I believe everything will be good.
We'll bounce back. And if there is one thing, I mean, what's that old trope, like during the Great Depression, the only industries that made money were music and comedy. It's like people like to be entertained. Like live streaming from homes has now taken away the only real revenue stream for a lot of musicians, which was the live show. It's like, oh, we managed to give away the last little thing that we could make money on. We found a way to give that away for free. But nothing will replace seeing an artist, you know, in person. And like a live PA system will hopefully sound better than like an iPhone screen. And I think like live music is not going anywhere as long as we have electricity, as long as we have acoustic instruments. I think it'll be around.
Yeah, for sure. And that's kind of the thing about this whole, I was talking to a friend she's a painter, but it's like in times of crisis people turn to the arts.
Exactly.
So I think in a way it could potentially just be like, oh yeah, like I watched the Chris Martin live stream, and I used to love Coldplay, but I don't really listen to them so much anymore. And I was like, oh yeah, I love that guy. Like he's hilarious. And I'm like, it made me want to see him live, because I don't watch music videos. I haven't watched music videos for years. Except actually I watched your spaghetti one, so that's that's probably like the last music video I watched. And but seeing him live, I was like, oh yeah, he's hilarious, he's funny. Man, if they come to town, maybe I will go to that concert. It almost like reminded me that I liked him as a person, not like the polished video.
Yeah, for sure. And in a way it's nice that like suddenly Chris Martin and us have the same way to get music out there. It's definitely even the playing field, 100%. But it also floods the market. So
yeah, that's true. All right. Well, thanks so much for taking the time to be on this video. And hopefully if you guys are watching, you want to drop your website or your social media channels.
Yeah, so we're at Altered by Mom. Instagram is kind of our main one, and we are releasing a song a week. So, you know, hit us up if you enjoy a song.
On all platforms.
On all platforms, and we got Facebook, Altered by Mom, same thing, and then YouTube, Altered by Mom.
All right, awesome. All right, thanks so much for being on.
Thank you.